We're ready.
Okay, we'll call to order the City of Brainerd Personnel and Finance Committee meeting, and we'll start with introductions.
I forgot who I am. Alderman at Large, Kevin Studick.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
Connie Hillman, City Finance Director.
Nick Royal, City Administrator. Sean Strong, Technology Director.
Kelly Bevins, City Council.
Mike Hollyhorse, Public Works Director.
James Kravik, Community Development Director.
Teresa Burke, Brainerd Dispatch.
Kevin Hargett, representative from Country Manor.
Scott Kelo, Country Manor.
Anthony Fenston, CEO, Country Manor.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the committee. We have 7 published items on the agenda tonight. We are adding an 8th one for an item that just came up today, and that's about our bond council. But we'll start with the first item, which is to consider approval of a technology department organizational chart and job descriptions. Chris, Sean, who's taking this?
I'll start it. So on January 21st, the council reclassified Mr. Strong as our new technology director for the integrated technology department. Staff noted at the time that we wanted to work through some operational and legal questions before submitting a department org chart and applicable job descriptions for the council's consideration. Mr. Strong has met with various Public Utilities Department management team members on 3 occasions since that date to learn more about the department's current operations, as well as immediate needs and future priorities. After considering those items, we have attached a department org chart and job descriptions as recommended by Mr. Strong and myself. There is listed in your packet proposed wages as of January 1st, 2025, as well as the classification points for each position. We will need to negotiate a memorandum of agreement with the union, and we are asking that the committee approve the technology department job descriptions and classification points as presented, and also to direct staff to negotiate the wages with the union.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the job descriptions. Any discussion? Kelly?
I have a question. Did we hire a guy?
We've hired 1 person so far.
Okay.
And then after we negotiate the memorandum of agreement with the unions, then we will post internally and see if we have any internal candidates for some of these positions. The positions that are still vacant after that, we'll do an external hiring process.
Okay. And did we hire this person under the new job description?
That was at the last meeting that we
Yep.
hired the technology director under that job description.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
we were looking for another position.
So we're looking, the Public Utilities Department had included a network administrator and a system administrator.
Yeah.
Both of those positions are listed here. We can't hire someone until we negotiate the wage with the union.
Got it.
So we're getting close.
No, we haven't hired
No, we
him.
haven't.
I know there was a lot of concern that we get another IT person on.
So what we can tell you though is
Yep.
since we have integrated the IT department, we now have 3 people that could help immediately at Public Utilities if needed. So Mr. Strong and then
Yep.
Lori Turkowski, our IT specialists, both could help if something came up. So we are better off than what we were
Why
on
we
December 19th.
integrated in the first place. I have another question.
Okay.
When we do hire another person, will they go into a public utilities union or into, what's the
Administrative support.
administrative support?
They will go into the IBEW Administrative Support Union. The Public Utilities Union,
That-
the BMS certification, unit certification says they have to be employed in the Public Utilities Department. These people are being employed by our city technology department.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Maybe just a side note, we did work with both Connie, our finance director, as well as Danny Locke today to talk about budget situations and things like that. I don't know if Connie wants to talk about that a little bit.
Just based on our initial placements, our estimated hire dates, assuming that these go through the unions. Also an allocation for estimated time spent between the city and BPU departments. It's looking like the city will be about $3,500 over budget and BPU will be under budget by about $83,000.
Perfect.
It's based on a whole lot of assumptions.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, we'll see as it goes on. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay, and then I did have some employees reach out to me asking why they have to apply for their jobs. Like, we already have employees and now they have to apply if they want to continue working at the city. And when I asked Chris, she showed me the language in the union contract that anytime there is a new job title per the union contract, it has to be posted internally for 5 days. So we're doing what the union wants us to do by having our employees apply for their own jobs. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Did you handle both of those items with that
So we have
motion?
one item with that motion.
Okay, well, next item is to direct staff to negotiate for wages for the new technology department positions with IBEW admin support.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Good job, Chrissy.
Next item up is the Saha funds. James.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So at the December 16th City Council meeting, Council authorized staff to advertise for Brainerd's available Saha funds. There was some left over from last year as well as what we received from this year for a total of $104,484. The city did receive 2 proposals. The first one was from My Neighbor to Love Coalition, which requested the total amount to go towards the remaining construction costs of their 12-plex. The other ask was from Lakes Area Habitat for Humanity, which requested $70,000 to go towards the construction of a single-family home on B Street, given the sharp increase in construction costs, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions? No, okay, so they're looking for a recommendation. This money needs to be spent by,
We have 4 years.
we have
So the-
4 years to spend
So
it.
the 2023 funds need to be spent by December 31st, 2027.
Okay, and the 2024 funds by 28.
2028, yes.
Okay, so we don't have to spend all this money right now. I think I would favor a motion granting the $70,000 for Lakes Area Habitat for Humanity and holding on to the rest for another housing project that may come down the pipeline, but.
So moved. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you for that. And the reason, I have nothing against what they're trying to do over in the My Neighbor to Love Coalition, but the proof of concept isn't there. So I don't really know if it's gonna work or what's going on over there. Where Habitat for Humanity is long proven model of getting
I
people
agree.
in homes. Kelly?
Mr. Krambeck and I attended a presentation by Charles Marone from Strong Towns today. And he labeled the My Neighbor to Love Coalition as Brainerd's future slums.
That's a concern.
I mean, he was very direct, so I'm not making any comments
Okay.
on myself or for the council, but just that Chuck has a lot of clout.
There's a lot of gray area yet for us to start giving money away like that.
Right, start putting public funds towards something that could
Correct.
end up not working. Because they have the fourplex that they've had for 2 years now, but they have yet to provide any support in their supportive housing concept, so I think we don't shovel government money towards that, but Habitat we've worked with many times.
They're
and
established.
They build a quality product and get people homes. So, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is delay payment of charges for Country Manor.
Yes. So there's a deferred assessment on one of the Country Manors parcels from the Beaver Dam project. The assessment is now due because the property has been replatted and development and it's going to be developed. The principal amount of the assessment is just under $65,000 with 10 years of interest at 5.75% for a total of just under $102,300. Country Manor is requesting council to consider waiving the 10 years of interest at the 5.75%, which is about $37,347, and to delay the payment of the principal amount to start 30 days after the building opens for service. The assessment would be paid annually over a total over 5 years. The actual sack and whack charges are not known until the building is constructed, but are currently estimated to be $468,600. Country Manor is requesting council to consider delay the payment of sack and whack charges to start 30 days after the building opens for service, and the assessment would be paid annually over a total of 5 years. Country Manor is also proposing an interest rate of 1.5%. Attached to the agenda was an amortization table using the suggested interest rate and the sack and whack estimated charges and principal amount of $64,952 of the deferred assessment. Based on council's action tonight, the interest rate and arrangement will be included in the development agreement that will be considered at the February 18th council meeting. We also have representatives from Country Manor if there's any questions. And the motion is to approve the request as presented or to deny the request with recommended changes. The Country Manor's request to delay payment of sack and whack and deferred assessment for the Country Manor Development Project.
Okay, I have one question. Are you guys aware of our park dedication fees? No, so that's $500 per housing unit. Are you gonna ask us to defer those, and should we include those being deferred tonight, or are you gonna pay those up front when you get the building permit? That's probably just a fee you haven't run into.
Yeah, so it hasn't really come up, I can answer that.
Yeah.
Certainly the big one is the sack and whack, I did.
I'm aware of this.
Yeah, and so the park dedication, when I did add it out for commercial property, because this is a mixed use, senior living is also in our commercial table. It's a little bit different than an individual house of $500, so we calculated at 5% of the land value or $1,000 per acre of the developable area. So you'd be looking at approximately, I think, $38,000 because the development's occurring on 38 acres, which is greater than the 5%. So I did
Which
take a look.
works out to about $500 a unit too.
Oh, yeah, a little bit less than that, but yeah, similar.
But are you guys gonna come later and ask for that to be deferred?
Why don't we just include
We could include it tonight.
If you include, that would be great.
Yep.
it? I would make a motion to approve what was presented to defer it along with the park dedication stuff.
I'm not seconding this,
Okay,
and I'll explain if we get a second.
yeah, can I second it?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll second it. Go ahead, Kevin.
The sack and whack, I get, we like to give incentives for people doing big projects, and I'm really excited about this project, so I don't mean I represent this area geographically, and every single year, somebody from 15 years ago who's had all this property comes and complains about the assessments on the sewer and water that went underneath the road in front of your proposed development. And here's my thought on that. That's not your responsibility anyway. Now the entire city it's the seller's responsibility. The assessment was on the property before you bought it.
Yes.
If you bought it with the assessment, knowing that you were gonna come to us later and try and stick it to the rest of the taxpayers, that isn't fair. Every single person on that road had to pay the assessments. We have not deferred one. They're all zoned residential. Now, yours is a different type of residential, but I can't get reelected telling the other 30 people who had their assessments deferred and had to pay them when they sold or developed the property, but you guys don't. It just isn't fair to the other property owners out there who had to do what you're asking us not to do. So it just, you know, I get what you're saying. It's a huge development. It has a lot of merit, and for us to compensate and to help you out makes perfect sense, except for why do you guys not have to clean your room when I do? Do you understand? I mean, maybe you don't, but it's to be fair to everybody else. By the way, there's probably more deferred assessments out there, tons more. And the minute we open the door to you, they're all gonna, and it's, you know, well, we did it for you, so. How many are out there? I mean,
Not very many have paid
not how many
assessment.
left, but we just went through this on one, so.
But they do always have the option of having it assessed over 10 years or requesting council to reassess
Not
over
anymore,
10
they
years.
do. Oh, these people do.
Or right.
No, these people don't. The assessment over 10 years already happened. That 10 years is long gone.
Right, but I have it in my notes that they could request council to recertify for 10 years with no interest.
Okay.
So that's,
At no interest?
but it would be the whole amount, not
Yeah.
just the principal amount. It would be the
Got
whole
it.
102.3.
I think that'd be fine, if that's part of the deal that's available for everybody.
According to my notes with this
Yeah.
project, that was allowed,
Yeah, I can,
Well, this would be accelerated, right?
yes. Be
So
over
they'd be
5
paying out to
years.
5 years instead of 10. So I support the motion. I was hesitant at first, especially 1.5% interest, that's a pretty good deal. But we did with with the people who hooked up without permission, we did waive 10 years of interest already. We've already established that we're letting people pay the 2012 cost of the hookups are. So
Correct.
I'm fine with that.
If that was
Just
the
did that
motion.
within the past. That's part of it, it's not the entire motion.
Yeah.
So I support it, I support putting off the.
If they were
park
paying the
dedication funds.
2012 assessment, which includes interest, correct? That includes some interest, it was just the 2012 fee, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Because that's part of the same deal for everybody, so they would lose a considerable amount of interest.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that, but that's not what this motion is.
No, this motion is waiving 10 years of interest and having them pay it off over 5 years. And then stack them back over 5 years and part dedication.
So they'll pay the principal,
Yes.
Yeah,
the 100% principal at 1.5%, and they'll pay the interest up through 212,
2014.
or 2014,
Yeah.
2015 now.
Yeah,
Which, right, because they're only getting 10 years of free interest, of no interest,
So they're only gonna be paying interest at 1.5% versus a 5.75%.
from here moving forward.
Right,
But the amount, is this amount,
it's just the principal amount,
okay, so it doesn't include any interest up to 2012?
correct? Because the interest,
Then
we have 10 years.
I'm correct in
At
not-
30
Yeah, well, the other people
$34,000.
had to pay interest up through 212.
well, this is only waiving 10 years of interest, so the interest through
No,
20.
she just said that just the
2014 would be
principal
included.
amount.
So the bond has been paid off, the interest stopped after 10
No,
years.
we continue to collect interest.
We continue to collect interest.
That I do not know.
No, we just
According to
did.
my notes, I don't know,
What can we waive if we didn't collect, if we didn't charge
I
it?
don't know what was done on the last property that we just did. I'm sorry, I'm still confused about that.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Let's look at what we have right in front of us. We
They're
have-
asking for the principal, they're asking for $34,000 of interest to be waived. That's 10 years of interest on the project.
They're asking for 10 years of interest, but any other interest before those 10 years is included in what we're calling
And
principal
accumulated.
tonight.
No, the principal, that was the assessment amount was $64,000.
So that doesn't include any interest.
That doesn't include any interest.
So
That
no
is-
interest was ever added on to it. 64 was the original amount in
64
2000.
There
was
was
the original
interest
amount.
added on.
And then we added 10 years of interest at 5.75%. So when we started it in 2006, then we added one, so the interest is from 2006 to 2016. We only accrued 10 years of interest and we stopped accruing interest on
We
it.
stopped accruing interest after the debt
After
was
the
paid
property,
off.
yes.
And that wasn't how the other
That
one
is,
that was
according to my
explained to
notes,
us.
how it was
That's not the
explained.
way I recall it either, and I was there, so.
Normally, when someone defers after the bond's paid off, we stop accruing the interest.
Really?
Yes.
Well, nevertheless, I support the motion. I think we've already given them tax abatement. We've already went through the public hearing process and found that this was a public benefit to have this development in our community, so I absolutely support this. Any other discussion, Kelly or Ken?
No.
I certainly support 10 years of interest abatement since 2000. But my principal amount would be the initial assessment amount of
64,000.
64,000 plus interest from 06 to 2015, which it doesn't appears they're getting 20 years of interest because of the way we calculate assessment interest.
And they are requesting for all of that interest to be waived.
Yep,
Which is more than 10 years.
more than 10 years, yeah, 20 years.
How do you
The
feel?
interest started accruing in 06. It'll be
So-
20 years in 2026. The fact that you haven't been collecting interest is only a misunderstanding of the assessment process.
And that is how we have done, so it was, the interest calculated, the 34,000 interest was calculated by taking the principal amount, the 64,000, times 5.75% times 10.
All right, we've got 10 minutes and like 5 more items. So we're just gonna vote on this. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Okay, let's get on to the next item. Ratify hiring of Aaron Forstrom as Transit Operations Specialist. Chris?
We received 4 applications for the transit operations specialist position. We invited 3 people to interview and made an offer to Mr. Forstrom. He will start with us on February 12th at step 2, and the recommended action is to ratify his hiring.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second to hire. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up, consider approval of employee policy manual. Chris,
So several employment law changes were...
anything different from the last time you explained it?
Nope.
Okay,
I approve.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Next up, the investment policy. Connie.
The only change that we're requesting is to have the interest be allocated on a quarterly basis instead of a semi-annual basis as recommended by our municipal advisors for our debt service funds and update the signature block. Recommended motion is to approve the investment policy as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Alley parking lot. So I had a conversation with Dave Perringer a while back that he was renovating the top of the former Bob and Fran's building and putting in 7 or 9 apartments or something, but he was mandated by the city to provide 4 parking stalls. And he asked me if we could transfer the lease from Bob and Fran's to Dave, so he just has the 4 parking stalls and they're right next to the building and it's convenient. And I said, I will try. So that's why this is here. The city has a historical record of just having a wait list, and there are a few people on the wait list. But in my opinion, this is a different type of situation because we are telling the developer, you must provide parking, and we have the opportunity that with a tenant moving out, boom, 4 parking spots are opening up. We can transfer them to Dave. He's satisfying his variance or conditional use or whatever type of permit it was, and we're being helpful instead of a hindrance.
There are 7 people currently on the waiting list, just an FYI.
I look at this as a continuation of the lease, more than a open lease. Now, the only question I have is Bob and Fran's, do they care if they have a truck still there? Or they did recently? I mean, I hate to give them to Dave, and Bob and Fran's wants to keep them for their truck.
Well, we wouldn't transfer, yeah, that's.
That would be the only, I would move to approve the transfer from Bob and Fran's
Based
to Dave Perger, who's the building owner,
Yeah,
which is where it probably should have been anyway. And as long as Bob and Fran's approves.
Second.
yeah, that's a good point. I haven't talked to Bob and Fran's about it. So we have a motion to approve the transfer contingent upon Bob and Fran's approval. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And the final item, Connie, direction on bond council and economic development matters.
Yes, so staff received word today that effective today, the entire team of bond lawyers and the Public Finance Department at Kennedy and Graven have transitioned to QCAT Rock LLP. Therefore, the city either needs to move to QCAT for bond counsel services or go out for RFP. Sophia Leike is our bond counsel and attorney for development matters such as TIF and tax abatement with Kennedy and Graven since 2021-2022. The city could stay with Kennedy and Graven for economic development matters, but we need to select another attorney from Kennedy and Graven for those matters. With being in the middle of several large and ongoing projects, it would be staff's recommendation to continue to be represented by Sophia Leike in connection with bond and economic development matters. This item is of importance as Ms. Leike is planning on being online tonight for the Country Manor tax abatement agenda item, and Ms. Leike could not represent the city if the city is not going to continue with her services. So the recommended motion is to continue to be represented by Sophia Leike with QCAT Rock LLP in connection with bond, council, and economic development matters. And then the further action would be the discussion if the city should go out for RFP for bond, council, and economic development matters. Looked at a little history, it looks like we've been with Kennedy and Graven since 1974.
I so approve the motion.
What is the motion, Kevin?
The motion is to
Aye.
continue to be represented by.
Correct.
Okay,
I'll second it, but I might vote against it.
Yeah, any discussion?
I have a question. I mean, when our attorney, this happened just recently with our attorney, and we ended up with Langle. And the guy that recommended that we whack the fire department. And we ended up with Joe, and we just stayed with the same firm. I'm sure Kennedy and Graven has somebody who could take over with this.
not bond council. The whole entire team moved. That's the difference here.
Okay?
We could stay with them for economic development matters, but then we'd have
I
three
understand,
attorneys.
so it's a special type of counsel. And the second question is, are we under any obligatory contract with Kennedy Graven? I assume we signed the contract with them.
We have no contract that we can find.
Okay. Well, do we know anything about Kutak Rock?
It is a, what do I want to say? They're all over the United States.
It's a national firm.
It's a national firm.
Never heard of them.
We just looked, we Googled them for 5 minutes, that was about, that's what we know of them.
That's, okay.
We know they hired our bond counsel.
Well, that's employee theft, so everyone, Elon Musk does that.
Jeff Chesak, or Councilmember Chesak did ask a question about what the rates would be, and I did receive a response back that they are not looking at increasing the rates.
Okay.
And she's about $230 per hour.
Yeah, I support the motion for now. I've had no problems with our bond counsel in my time on the council, and we've got things going on like the
Right.
assisted housing development and other things that Sophia has been working on and is deeply knowledgeable of, so I think we just stick with her for now, and if she screws something up like Eric Quering did, then we look in a different direction.
If this motion passes, are we obligated for any length of time since we have no contract?
No.
No, so we can always change. All right, I'll support it.
Anything else?
No.
So at this point, not going out for RFP then?
Right now, just going with
No.
Sophia and.
Yep,
Okay,
keep
perfect.
the even,
And
even.
you have to keep calling it cute cat though.
Yeah, keep can.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries, and we're adjourned for a few minutes to get upstairs.